May I introduce my friend, Mr. Couri Hay, who has been very loyal to me since a disaster took place. What, 14 years ago?
Well, Charles, there have been so many disasters, I hardly know which one you're referring to at this point.
When Holston threw me out saying I was too old to make anything.
Yes, that was after Halston and I had been in Paris, when it was really quite interesting because it was kind of a prophecy of his whole career. He really wasn't what he is today then. But we'd go to Saint Laurent and he'd say, well, what did you like? And we'd pick out various coats and dresses and things for men and women. And he'd say, you know what? I'm going to send this to Japan. I'll move a button here, I'll move a button there. Saves a lot of money. And pretty much that's been his design technique. But anyway, back to the disaster, Charles.
Well, no, disasters are boring.
All right, so let's forget the disasters.
Let me tell you some of the beautiful people I dress.
Such as Dolores Del Rio?
But I'm not going to use the term beautiful people.
Well,
it's been used.
Here's Dolores Del Rio.
But the people inspired me to overwork.
Such as Dolores?
I would say Lady Lucia Warner first.
Who we had talked about. But let's talk about Dolores Del Rio because here we have a lovely picture of her.
When she came to me.
We have a picture of Dolores.
Well, Dolores Del Rio, yes, but you see.
Let's talk about her because here she is. Was she one of your most beautiful clients, Charles?
She bought one of my designs from Gunther Jekyll, made for Millicent Rogers. And I thought the picture beautiful. And she's never stopped speaking well of me.
Did you know her well? Or?
No. Wasn't necessary. But if I wrote it today, I get a letter.
And this is, of course, satin on the outside and mink on the inside. Because
yes.
you didn't want to put mink on the outside.
The satin was peacock blue taffeta. So
and
when you took out the lining, which was tied in with little bows, there was a plum-colored coat lined with peacock.
And did you have fittings for this coat, Charles?
No.
Were you there for the photographic session?
No.
Was this the only thing of yours she ever had?
Honig and Hunley took the photograph. And you know, he was one of the great photographers of the world. Horst was his houseboy.
Really?
Yes.
And how should we take that?
Well, he learned all he learned from George, Honig and Hunley. But he's very dry. His work is very cut and dry. Honig and Hunley wasn't.
Is this a drawing, an Antonio
Yes.
drawing of this coat?
No, of another coat.
What coat was this?
Well, it was made for my infant son to be christened in, very small, and very late at night. And it was flown on the milk plane, or whatever you call the plane that goes at 4 in the morning. And the next afternoon, it was used as a christening cake at St. John the Divine, where my grandmother's cousin was the canon, Burson, and my patron's grandson is today the bishop, and a very good bishop. You must know, Paul Moore. And
that's it.
Yes, he wrote to me the other day about publicity, the Liz Smith article. And I thought that very nice, the bishop, because they usually don't like the people their family have stood behind.
Well, Liz said that the Chelsea Hotel had reconsidered and that you were safe. What is the story, Charles? I mean, the rent's been paid till August.
I don't want to go into that, really. It's too high, the rent, what I've got in the way of space.
Is it true that you're planning to desert the Chelsea in favor of a loft in
No,
Soho?
I would like to be here, in a small apartment, perhaps. Rather mad.
That you are.
Yes, but the idea I had in Chicago years ago, we never got enough money to put together, which was to have a big loft in which to teach students who didn't have to pay.
Isn't that a dream you hope to still realize?
Yes.
And it would be supported by
because I have so many
contributions?
young people who are fans of mine, more than you would think.
And of course I understand that the school would be supported by contributions from
Yes.
patrons who would get to wear the clothes
Yes.
that the workshop made.
That's right. Not own them, that would be wrong in tax law, but wear them,
And then later give them to a museum.
advertise them, give them back to the institution, which will give them to a museum.
And speaking of advertising, didn't you do these marvelous ads for DuPont?
Yes,
back
I
in-
know.
When was this, Charles? When was this?
94. And that was that German model who was wonderful. They often are, Miss Harnett. And I believe that's the best photograph of her, because when Diane Breeden got her hands on her, she looked like a housefrau.
And this dress was made entirely of DuPont nylon?
Yes, but with chiffon too, I mixed things.
Is there anything special about this dress or this pose that you can tell us about?
Only that it's in 4 museums.
The dress.
Yes.
Charles, tell me, did you ever actually,
I'd like to tell you about that dress.
all right.
It's made of 2 pieces of material and joined down the center.
Is this an Antonio drawing?
Yes, it was made for Gypsy Rose, another client, Mrs. Oliver Burr Jennings, who was one of my great clients, who was from Ecuador, and married one of the Standard Oil Jennings, who were very old New York people, the Woolsons and the Jennings. And the white coat you like so much, the padded one, was made for her.
No.
Now that coat is still worn by Otzilita Charles. You know who I mean?
Yes, from Washington.
Yes. And her daughter told me about it. That was the cover of Vogue,
This here.
traced from a reflection on the wall. Those are my Gauguin coats, which revolutionized the use of a stiff material.
Isn't that Ruth Ford?
18 inch is broad.
Isn't that Ruth Ford there?
Yes.
Which one? This one?
Yeah, no,
This one?
that one. She lent the coat to Antonio to draw, and he came back in rags.
Antonio made it into rags.
Yeah.
Was he wearing it or what?
I don't know.
Is this Dietrich the Divine?
Yes, but she did her hair at that time so badly I cut the head off. But you know, one of the other most beautiful people I know is Elsa Peretti. I don't want to forget her. She's been kind, generous, gallant. She's been bad about fittings because she has Tiffany's, you know, on her hair. But she didn't mind at all coming to me and leaving Halston.
What do you mean leaving Halston?
Well, you know that he gave her a mink coat.
stable.
No, it wasn't stable. It was mink, and it was a commission that he got from the farrier. And she found it out. She threw it in the fire. And it was given.
She threw a mink coat or a sable coat into the fireplace?
Yes, because she didn't want a commission.
What was the commission from what? Better start from the beginning, Charles. I'm missing this story.
Yes, I know. Holston takes commissions from the people he deals with in the conglomerate. And she found that it was a mink coat worth $6,000. And when she found it out, she threw it away. Elsa, you know, is well off. Her father left her a great deal of money. Her father was a sort of Italian hard Jews. And Holston said that she designed all the packaging for his cosmetics is untrue. The mink coat was for that. She has a sense of honor.
Yes.
She sends flowers at moments when you don't expect them. And she's good to a great many people.
She's always been very nice to me.
People who don't deserve it.
Are you inferring I don't deserve it?
No, no.
Let's go back a little bit. Leave Elsa for a
But she needs
minute.
to be saved, Elsa.
Saved from what, Charles?
Herself.
Don't we all? And especially you.
I know that. But you see, she doesn't always do her work. And she's out all the time with models and people. And Studio 54, which I wish would burn down.
Back to the divine Dietrich. Here she is in a dress of bows with flesh showing. In fact, hadn't you really made this dress for a woman over 70 originally?
About 70. And you could undo every bow and get off the dress.
And Dietrich chose the dress to wear?
Elizabeth Arden's. And it was as hot as here, and I got a big cake of ice and put flowers in it before it was frozen.
I wish you'd do that for us.
And she wasn't tall appreciated. She was not an appreciative woman.
Tell us about that day. What was she like?
Hard.
The divine Dalina, Marlena,
Hard.
Dietrich. She was high,
Hard.
hard. Dietrich, hard.
Yet she was not a kind or nice person.
How do you mean that?
Well, she would give presents to the staff in the play, the cast. But she really was not appreciative of efforts made for her.
What was it like posing her and putting her in this dress? You cut her head off because you didn't like her hair.
I didn't even pose her. I let her alone. I
And
take
you-
great deal of trouble posing.
And you set up blocks of ice with fans behind
Yeah,
it to make
yeah.
her cool.
Yeah. And Elizabeth Arden wouldn't sell the dress.
Why?
She didn't like her.
She didn't like, Elizabeth Arden didn't like Dietrich?
No,
Did you like Dietrich?
no.
Why not?
I adore Garbo. And there was always such a comparison. And Garbo had a wonderful smile. The only time Dietrich smiled was in that funny film about New Orleans.
Was this the only time that you
Yeah.
had
Yes.
design, when you designed this dress, Anton?
Yeah.
Did you get this? And
I hope it will be the only time.
what
we
about...
lived in the Lancaster Hotel of Paris when she was living with the man who wrote All Quiet on the Western Front.
Romani.
Yes, Remarque. This is the coat the gypsy Rosie used to sleep in her robes when she went to some big tent to perform before 5,000 people and didn't want to go to a motel.
Gypsy slept in this coat?
Yeah, often driving the roads. Gypsy was a wonderful person. She had great stamina. She had wonderful manners. She was generous. She was everything that you wouldn't expect.
This isn't Gypsy here on the cover of Bazaar
No,
in
that's a
1945.
model. It was posed by Babs Wilson.
Is it wool, Charles?
It was made of traveling rugs. There was no wool around.
Charles, tell me, did you ever make clothes for men?
Yes, and loved doing it.
Are these shorts for men here?
They were for me when I was 26 or 7 in the waist.
Here.
Yeah,
These are Antonio drawings.
yes, but they somehow fit many people. I've never known the secret excepting that a diagonal line is longer than a straight line.
Isn't this Pat Cleveland and the shorts,
Yes.
Charles?
Yes,
And your top?
yes,
And is he wearing the shorts as well?
yes.
And of course, here's Antonio, and you,
Yeah,
and Homer.
yes.
Is this the...
And Homer I want to mention, can I?
Of course.
He's one of the most wonderful people I ever met. Nothing is too hard for him. His workmanship couldn't be found in Paris now.
This is the back view of the shorts here.
Yes,
Have these shorts ever been produced for the masses?
they've been, somebody tried to copy them this year.
Who?
Stavros, friend of Antonio.
And Charles, here we see several...
But you see, I made a whole line of infant wear that you don't really know about. And I made every sort of short and shirt. And I put them together and made them into one-piece garments that opened up all down the front. And the buttons went in a big arc from all over from here to here. I'm planning to make them again, but you know, I have so little work stuff. I could use 12 very easily, because I think quickly, and I make decisions quickly. That's Uschi, the German model, married now, maybe one of the best models I ever knew.
This is your top.
Excepting Lee Miller. Did you ever hear of her?
Yes.
Well, she married, you know, Penrose later, but was married also to Man Ray's friend Ellery Bay. Madame Ellery Bay was one of the great beauties of the world, but she was Turkish and brought up in a whatever Turkish woman, Purda, you know. And then she married a Russian, Majersky. But I don't remember anybody really quite as beautiful.
Wasn't this the top that you made and that Raquel Welch wanted to wear on the cover of Cosmopolitan?
Yes.
And did she have a little problem with her breasts that made it impossible?
Yes, it was immovable.
What do you mean immovable, Charles?
Solid.
Raquel Welch's breast was solid.
Yes, made of one.
From muscle?
No, dear me, no. From whatever is injected.
You saw that yourself?
Marble?
How do you know
You
that?
know what is it called?
Silicone?
Yes.
Raquel Welch's breasts are silicone?
Of course.
How do you know that?
It's generally known.
Well, how did you know that?
Because people talk.
But you made this brassiere to be fitted on her. Why didn't it work on her?
Because her bust was so big and so immovable that you couldn't push it right or left or up or down.
Bionic?
Didn't your assistants try the brassiere on her and know for real, for
No,
sure?
they tried to understand of her measurements.
Are these the slacks that you made
Yes,
as well? With the,
yes.
sort
I
of
make
V?
them till I die. I don't want to live very much longer.
What do you mean you don't want to live? You just had a birthday. Do you think about death, Charles?
All the time.
In what way?
That I don't know what it is to begin with. The only thing that has counted has been my work. And I don't see myself on a cloud making clothes for angels.
You see yourself on a spit making clothes for the devil.
No.
Well, do you worry?
I just would like to live on and be younger.
Well, you are young.
Yes,
Do you,
but I'd like to be about 40.
do you worry about death?
Yes.
Does it bother you knowing that you'll die, I'll die, we'll all
Very,
die?
and where? And who will be around?
I'll be there. I'll probably die first, but you know.
Probably you tell the truth.
Well, Charles, does death scare you?
Yes, because I want to work.
But you work
And
now.
I can't work very well. I'm not very in good health anyway.
Oh, come on, Charles. It's 12:30 and we're still high and going on
No,
talking
I
and
can't
chatting.
feel well, but I was told the other day that I had heart trouble and that it prevented oxygen getting to my lungs. And I've had bronchitis 3 years running in this hotel due to the heating system.
Do you feel you've created your best work?
Yeah, I know. I feel it's before me.
You've created it, or you
I
will
could.
create? You will create more.
I could, but only with young, enthusiastic people who want to know.
Are you satisfied with what you've created to this point?
No, no artist of any note is satisfied with what he's done.
Do you feel you contributed to design?
Yes, enormously.
Do you feel
And
satisfied
I
with
don't
what you've done?
say that myself. I say it because people have said it to me.
Well, aren't you happy and proud of your contribution?
It could have been so much better.
Your contribution, which has been accepted in 34 museums?
Yes, but when you have people like Mrs. Greenland and all the people in New York of her ilk, not knowing who you are or pretending not to, and saying that you never contributed anything, you really don't want to live in New York.
You don't want to live in New York?
And yet I have New York friends. I have you. I have many. I don't see them all the time, but they're with me all the time.
Well, Charles, is there anything that you would have done differently? Could you have? Would you have? That's a broad question.
I don't think so.
Do you feel you've been cheated?
But if I had had capital and proper work crews, you know.
But you had them at one time.
Never. I never have more than
The
30.
Japanese.
Yes, for how many? 14. and then I had 20 upstairs. But that is the maison couture. You need 40 fish.
Do you feel that you've been cheated?
I feel that when Yves Saint Laurent says very good things about me, that's a great recompense.
Do you feel that history will do you justice?
Yes, oh, I'm sure it's proven over and over again, isn't it?
Do you feel your whole life has been but a footnote in history? Have you lived your whole life for recognition in museums and by scholars?
Not really.
Is that your greatest reward, your greatest hope?
Yes, I think so.
Have you sought immortality through your creativity and talent?
Yes,
Why?
because it's the only way to live beyond death.
Do you
Do
feel
you know after our first broadcast, a worker called Isaac Eisen, or Isaac Eisen, called me, and she said she'd been married twice, had a house in Aspen. If she were not very well, she would come in at once. I had no idea how much the workers respected me, and she was one. And she said, I'm going to bring you some flowers, because I have a garden. I had letters. That was not your broadcast, Liz Smith's article. I want to thank you for Liz Smith, too.
Thank Liz Smith, and just remember, Charles, you're not dead yet, and we've got a lot more stories to tell, and we're going to tell them. And we're going to start with, what are these Muslims here?
No, but that wouldn't interest readers as much as people.
These aren't readers, these are viewers, and we really don't care what the viewers want. We give them what we want to give them.
I want very much to please the viewers.
Well, the viewers want what we give them, don't you, viewers? Right? Okay. Come on, this is an educational experience. What are these Muslims? What are these, Charles?
They're the Muslims of models, which are all laminated, so they take their own shape, something Holston could never learn.
Well, why? Or what are they about?
Because he has no patience.
But what are they about?
They're parts of dresses. We prepare each part separately.
Is this a dress we've seen?
That is a skirt made for Mrs. Jackson Pollock. It isn't her shape. It's the shape you had to make to provide the volume, which collapsing will give her a good shape.
And this one?
That's the front of the dress.
And this?
That's the front of another dress.
And this?
That's the, oh, that was unusual. It was the top I made for Corvettes, which I later made for Holston leather.
You at one time, didn't you collaborate with Halston on a collection to be called
No,
Shaped
never, never. I let him borrow some patents, which a student who stole them, to keep them, to protect them, brought back, providing he will put in each, shaped by Charles James, which would mean that when he sold out to Jennifer Jones's husband, another favorite
Who was a great client of yours?
Yes. He would have had to have that label and everything. I would have made money. I was paid for 2.5 days a week. I worked 7. You know that.
Too much, Charles. You've given too much. But
I loved it.
and that's what counts.
I did love Holston, really, at one time.
No comment.
The other day, I sent him back a pair of shoes, red shoes, which on a day I was very depressed, walking with him down 6th Avenue. He said, well, I'll buy them for you. They were $20, $15 something. I enjoyed them so much, I sent them back with Blair.
Why?
I sent a note first, which should have gone with the box, which said, this is probably the only present you ever gave anybody without expecting a return.
It's true, I paid for all my hats. Anyway, thank you for joining me, Couri Hay, and Anton Perich for the Charles James story. The Charles James story, whether you want it or not, will continue. Whether you want it or not, we're going to tell all the stories, all the big names will fall, and Charles James will...
And the little name
And the little names.
will become known.
And the names you've never heard of. And we don't care if anybody watches. We're doing it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Couri Hay, and thank you, Anton Perich, for staying through all this very hot heat. And thank you for joining us. Thank you. My name is Couri Hay, and good night.
My name's Charles James. I've been in dressmaking. Let's say I made my first dress around 50 years ago. That's half a century. And it was for Helen Hayes.
Blair, more champagne.